Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. We're so happy you're here. If you're learning English and you've ever caught yourself translating every single sentence from your native language before speaking, then today's episode is definitely for you. Our topic is something almost every English learner struggles with: how to think in English without translating. James, I feel like this is one of those goals that everyone talks about, but very few people actually know how to achieve.
That's absolutely true, Emma. And honestly, it's probably one of the biggest turning points in language learning. The day you stop translating every sentence in your head is the day English starts feeling like a real language instead of just another school subject.
I love that. It really does feel different. But let's start with something simple. Why do we translate in the first place? Is it because we're doing something wrong?
Not at all. Actually, it's completely normal. Think about how your brain works. Your first language has been with you since you were a child. Every idea, every memory, every emotion is connected to that language. So when you start learning English, your brain naturally uses your first language as a bridge.
So it's almost like your brain is saying, I already know this word in my language. Let me find the English version.
Exactly. Imagine you want to say, I'm hungry, instead of thinking directly in English. Many learners first think of the sentence in their own language, then search for each English word one by one. That process takes time, and it also makes conversations feel stressful.
Yeah, I've heard learners say that. They understand English pretty well, but when someone asks them a question, they freeze for a few seconds because they're translating.
Right? And those few seconds can feel much longer than they actually are. The problem isn't that they don't know English. The problem is that they're trying to use two languages at the same time.
That's interesting. So instead of speaking one language, they're constantly switching between two.
Exactly. And your brain has to work much harder that way. Imagine you're driving somewhere, but every 5 seconds you stop the car, open a map, check the direction, and then continue driving. You'd eventually reach your destination, but it would be slow and exhausting.
That's such a good comparison. So translating is like stopping the car every few seconds.
That's right. Fluent speakers don't stop to translate because English has become the language they use for that moment. Their thoughts move directly into English.
Okay, but here's something I've always wondered. Do native speakers actually think in words all the time?
That's a great question. Not really. A lot of our thoughts are actually images, feelings, memories, or ideas. Language simply helps us organize those thoughts. That's why one of the best ways to stop translating is to connect English words directly to images instead of your native language.
Can you give us an example?
Of course. Let's take the word apple. When you hear that word, don't translate it into your language. Instead, picture a bright red apple. Maybe imagine holding it or taking a bite. Your brain starts connecting the English word directly to the object.
Oh, I see. So instead of English becoming a translation, it becomes the actual idea.
Exactly. And that's how children learn languages too. Nobody points to an apple and says, first memorize the translation. They simply see the object while hearing the word again and again.
That's actually really encouraging because it sounds much more natural.
It is. And here's something many learners don't realize. You don't need a huge vocabulary before you start thinking in English. Even if you only know 100 words, you can begin today.
Really? Only 100 words?
Absolutely. Let's imagine you're making breakfast. Instead of thinking in your native language, try saying simple things in your head. Coffee. Hot coffee. I need milk. The bread is fresh. Where's my spoon? They're tiny sentences, but they're direct English thoughts.
That feels much less scary than trying to describe complicated ideas.
Exactly. People often think they need advanced English before they can think in English. Actually, it's the opposite. Thinking in simple English helps you become advanced.
I really like that idea. It also sounds less stressful because you're not trying to build perfect sentences all the time.
That's another important point. Perfection slows you down. Communication moves you forward. If your brain is always checking grammar, searching for translations, and worrying about mistakes, you'll never become comfortable thinking naturally.
So the goal isn't perfect English. The goal is continuous English.
Exactly. Continuous exposure, continuous thinking, and continuous practice. Those small moments throughout the day are much more powerful than people realize.
I think that's already changing the way I look at language learning. Instead of waiting until I'm fluent to think in English, I should start thinking in English now, even if it's just a few simple words or short sentences.
That's exactly the mindset. Your brain learns through repetition. Every time you think directly in English, you're building a stronger connection. At first it feels slow, then it feels normal. Eventually, you won't even notice you're doing it anymore.
And I have a feeling that's where real confidence begins.
I couldn't agree more. Once English becomes your first thought instead of your second step, conversations become smoother, faster, and much more enjoyable.
So if someone listening right now is thinking, okay, I understand the idea, but I still automatically translate, what's the very first thing they should do?
The first step is surprisingly simple. Stop trying to translate everything perfectly. Most learners believe they need to understand every single word before they can think in English, but that's actually not how communication works.
Really? Because I think a lot of people pause whenever they hear one unfamiliar word.
Exactly. Let's imagine you're watching a short video in English. You understand 90% of it, but then you hear one word you've never heard before. Many learners immediately stop the video, open a dictionary, translate the word, and completely lose the flow.
I've definitely done that before.
Most of us have. But instead, try staying with the conversation. Ask yourself, can I understand the general meaning without knowing this one word? Very often, the answer is yes.
So you're training your brain to focus on meaning instead of individual words.
That's right. Think about your native language. Do you analyze every single word someone says?
No, not at all. I just understand the message.
Exactly. Your brain processes ideas, not isolated vocabulary. That's the habit we're trying to build in English.
I like that because it feels much more relaxed.
And language learning should be relaxed. When you're constantly worried about mistakes or unknown words, your brain goes into problem-solving mode instead of communication mode.
So how do we actually train ourselves to think directly in English?
One of my favorite exercises is called the simple observation exercise.
That sounds interesting. How does it work?
Wherever you are, look around and describe what you see using only English. Keep it simple. For example, you might think, I'm sitting in my room. The window is open. The weather looks nice. My phone is on a desk. I need some water.
That sounds almost too easy.
That's exactly why it works. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to make English your brain's default language for simple thoughts.
And I guess you can do that almost anywhere.
Absolutely. On the bus, while cooking, walking outside, waiting in line, even brushing your teeth.
I can imagine someone thinking, this toothpaste tastes minty.
Exactly. Or, I need a new toothbrush. The water is cold. I'm getting ready for work. These are real thoughts that people have every day.
And because they're connected to what you're actually doing, they probably stay in your memory better.
That's a huge advantage. Your brain remembers information better when it's connected to real experiences.
Here's another question. Should learners think in complete sentences?
Not necessarily. That's one of the biggest myths. Sometimes your thoughts are just words.
Just words?
Sure. Imagine you're walking through a park. Your brain might simply think trees, beautiful, fresh air, sunny. Those are still English thoughts.
So we shouldn't force ourselves to speak like we're giving a presentation.
Exactly. Natural thinking is often incomplete. Sometimes it's just an idea or a short phrase.
That actually takes away a lot of pressure.
It really does. Many learners think they need perfect grammar inside their own minds. But your thoughts don't have to be perfect. They just have to be in English.
I never thought about it that way.
Here's another exercise that's incredibly effective. Ask yourself simple questions throughout the day.
Like what?
Questions like, what am I doing? What should I eat today? Where am I going? What time is it? Then answer those questions in English.
So it becomes a little conversation with yourself.
Exactly. For example, what should I have for dinner?
Maybe chicken and rice.
Do I need to buy groceries?
Yes, I need eggs, milk, and fruit.
That's real thinking. You're not memorizing textbook dialogues. You're using English for your own life.
And I suppose that's much more useful because those are conversations you're already having in your head.
That's exactly the point. We all think thousands of thoughts every day. Why not let some of them happen in English?
I like that idea because it doesn't require extra study time.
Right? You don't always need another grammar book or another vocabulary list. Sometimes you simply need to change the language of your everyday thoughts.
What about making mistakes while thinking? Is that something learners should worry about?
Not at all. In fact, making mistakes is part of the process. Your brain improves by noticing patterns over time. If you wait until you're 100% correct before thinking in English, you'll never get enough practice.
So even if I think, yesterday I go to the store, that's still useful?
Absolutely. Later, after hearing enough English, your brain naturally starts recognizing that, yesterday, I went to the store sounds better. That's one reason listening is so important.
Because the more correct English we hear, the more our brain starts copying those patterns.
Exactly. Listening isn't just about understanding other people. It's about giving your brain examples of natural English over and over again.
So thinking and listening actually work together.
They do. Listening fills your mind with English, and thinking gives you a chance to use it. Together, they create a powerful habit.
I love that. It makes learning feel much more practical. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to practice speaking, you can start practicing every single day inside your own mind.
And that's one of the biggest secrets of fluent speakers. They don't only speak English when someone is listening. They think in English long before they open their mouths.
You know, James, something just came to mind. A lot of people say, I don't have enough time to study English. They have work, school, family, and so many responsibilities. Can someone still improve if they only have a few minutes here and there?
Absolutely. In fact, those little moments throughout the day are often more valuable than people realize. You don't always need an hour sitting at a desk. Sometimes 5 or 10 minutes of real English thinking can make a huge difference.
That's encouraging because most people do have 5 minutes.
Exactly. Think about how many small breaks you have every day. You're waiting for your coffee, walking to class, riding the bus, waiting for an elevator, standing in line at the supermarket. Those moments usually disappear because we're scrolling on our phones.
That's true. I think we've all done that.
Instead of reaching for your phone every single time, try using those moments to think in English, even if it's only for 2 or 3 minutes.
So instead of checking social media, I could simply describe what's happening around me.
Exactly. You might think, there are 3 people waiting. The store is busy today. That child looks excited. The music is relaxing. It doesn't have to be complicated.
I really like that because it's connected to real life.
That's the key. The more your English matches your daily life, the more natural it becomes. Your brain starts seeing English as a useful tool instead of something that only exists inside a classroom.
And I guess that's what fluency really is.
It is. Fluency isn't knowing the biggest vocabulary. It's being able to use the words you already know without stopping every few seconds.
That's a really important point.
Here's another habit that works incredibly well. Start narrating your routine.
Narrating? Like telling a story?
Sort of. Imagine you're getting ready in the morning. As you move through your routine, describe each action in English.
Like, I'm opening the window.
Exactly.
I'm making coffee.
Perfect.
Now I'm putting on my shoes.
Yes. Then maybe. I'm looking for my keys. I think they're on the table. No, they're in my backpack.
That actually sounds fun.
It is. And the best part is that you're using vocabulary you'll probably use again tomorrow. Daily routines repeat themselves, so your brain gets lots of natural repetition.
Instead of memorizing random words that I might never use.
Exactly. Let's be honest. Some learners spend hours memorizing advanced vocabulary, but struggle to describe what they ate for breakfast.
That's so true.
Being able to say, "I forgot my umbrella," is often much more useful than knowing an extremely advanced word you've never used before.
So practical English should come first.
Every single time.
Here's something else I've heard people ask. Should learners talk to themselves out loud?
If they can, absolutely. Speaking out loud activates different parts of your brain. It helps build confidence and improves pronunciation.
But what if someone feels embarrassed?
Then start silently. Thinking in English is already excellent practice. Later, when you're alone, maybe in your room or while driving, try saying those thoughts aloud.
So there's no pressure to begin with speaking.
Exactly. Build a habit first. Confidence usually comes after repetition, not before it.
That's such a good reminder.
Another powerful technique is imagining conversations.
Oh, I love this one.
Let's say you're about to visit a restaurant. Before you go, imagine the conversation.
Like, hello, I'd like a table for two.
Exactly.
Could I see the menu, please?
I like the chicken, please.
Can I have some water?
Perfect. You're preparing your brain before the real situation happens.
So when that moment finally comes, it doesn't feel completely new.
Right. Athletes visualize before competitions. Musicians imagine performances before concerts. Language learners can do exactly the same thing.
That's actually a great comparison.
And you can imagine almost any situation. Booking a hotel, buying clothes, introducing yourself to someone, asking for directions, going through airport security.
I suppose the more situations you imagine, the more confident you become.
Exactly. Your brain starts recognizing familiar patterns instead of feeling surprised.
What about listening while doing other things? Is that helpful?
Very much so. You don't always have to sit down and study. You can listen to English while cooking, cleaning, exercising, or taking a walk.
Even if I'm not paying attention to every single word?
Yes. Of course, focused listening is important sometimes, but relaxed listening has benefits too. It helps your brain get used to English rhythm, pronunciation, and common sentence patterns.
Kind of like background training.
That's a great way to describe it. Think about songs you know by heart. You probably didn't memorize them by sitting with a dictionary. You heard them again and again until they became familiar.
So repeated exposure matters.
It matters a lot. The more English becomes part of your everyday environment, the less foreign it feels.
And I guess that's when thinking in English starts happening naturally instead of feeling forced.
Exactly. One day you'll notice something interesting. You'll react to a surprise in English. You'll count in English. You'll remember a conversation in English. Those little moments are signs that your brain is changing.
And that's probably one of the most exciting feelings for any language learner.
It really is, because that's the moment you realize you're no longer translating every thought. You're simply using English as another way to experience the world.
You know, James, after everything we've talked about today, I think some listeners might still be wondering, if I keep translating in my head sometimes, does that mean I'm failing?
Not at all. Actually, it's completely normal. Learning to think in English isn't something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process. Even very advanced learners occasionally translate, especially when they're talking about difficult topics or learning new vocabulary.
So, translating isn't the enemy?
Exactly. The goal isn't to completely eliminate translation from day one. The goal is to need it less and less over time.
I think that's reassuring because people often expect instant results.
They do. And that's one of the biggest mistakes learners make. They compare themselves to fluent speakers who have spent years using English every single day.
That's like comparing someone who's just started running with a marathon champion.
That's a perfect comparison. Progress happens one step at a time. Every short conversation, every podcast you listen to, every sentence you think in English is another step forward.
Let's talk about some common mistakes. What are the biggest ones you see?
The first is trying to create perfect sentences before speaking.
I think almost everyone has done that.
Definitely. A learner starts thinking, is this grammar correct? Should I use the present perfect? Maybe the past simple? Is this preposition right? By the time they've finished thinking, the conversation has already moved on.
So they're spending more time editing than communicating.
Exactly. Remember this. People understand simple English much better than silent perfection.
I love that sentence.
It's true. Imagine someone says, yesterday I go shopping.
The grammar isn't perfect.
No, but you understand the message immediately.
Absolutely.
Communication happened. Later, with more listening and practice, that sentence naturally becomes, yesterday I went shopping.
So fluency comes before perfection.
In many ways, yes. Children don't wait until they know perfect grammar before speaking. They speak first, make mistakes, receive more language input, and improve naturally.
That's a really good reminder.
Another mistake is translating word for word.
Why is that such a problem?
Because languages don't organize ideas in exactly the same way. Every language has its own expressions, sentence structure, and rhythm.
So even if every translated word is technically correct, the sentence might still sound unnatural.
Exactly. Instead of asking, how do I translate this sentence? Ask yourself, how would an English speaker express this idea?
That's a completely different mindset.
It is. You're focusing on meaning instead of direct translation.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine you're feeling very tired. Instead of translating a phrase from your native language, simply learn the natural English expression, I'm exhausted.
Or instead of translating every little expression, learn how English speakers actually say things.
Exactly. That's why listening to real conversations is so valuable. You start noticing the phrases people genuinely use every day.
Here's another mistake I think people make. They only practice English during study time.
That's a huge one. They spend 30 minutes studying, close the book, and then don't think about English again until tomorrow.
So English becomes something separate from daily life.
Right? But if you want to think in English, English has to become part of your daily routine. Even a few minutes here and there can make a big difference.
I guess consistency matters more than long study sessions.
It really does. 15 minutes every day is usually much more effective than 3 hours once a week.
That's good news for busy people.
Definitely. Another mistake is being afraid of simple vocabulary.
What do you mean?
Some learners think they always need advanced words to sound intelligent, but native speakers use common vocabulary all the time.
That's true. Everyday conversations are usually pretty simple.
Exactly. If you know the words happy, busy, hungry, tired, excited, and worried, you can already express a lot about your daily life.
So there's nothing wrong with using easy English.
Not at all. In fact, simple English is often the clearest English.
I think that's something learners forget.
They do. They spend hours memorizing difficult words, but avoid using the simple ones they already know confidently.
Here's a question I hear quite often. What if I accidentally think in both languages at the same time?
That's perfectly normal. In fact, it's a sign that your brain is adapting. Over time, those moments become shorter. One day, you'll notice you're translating less without even realizing it.
So the change is gradual.
Very gradual. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you think about every movement. Keep your balance. Hold the handlebars. Watch the road. But eventually, you simply ride.
That's a great analogy.
Thinking in English works the same way. At first, it feels intentional. Later, it becomes automatic.
And I think that's really encouraging because it means every little bit of practice counts.
Exactly. Every sentence you think in English is another small investment in your future fluency. Those small investments add up much faster than most people expect.
So if someone listening today still finds themselves translating, they shouldn't feel discouraged.
Absolutely not. They should simply keep giving their brain more opportunities to use English naturally. Progress isn't measured by one perfect conversation. It's measured by hundreds of small moments that slowly become easier.
And I think that's a wonderful message. Learning English isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming a little more comfortable every single day.
Exactly. And when you focus on that process instead of chasing perfection, that's when real progress begins.
We've covered so many practical ideas today, James. And honestly, I hope our listeners are starting to realize that thinking in English isn't some special talent. It's a skill that anyone can develop with enough practice.
I completely agree. Sometimes people imagine that fluent speakers have a different kind of brain, but that's simply not true. They became fluent because they built habits. They gave themselves thousands of opportunities to use English naturally.
And that's something anyone can start doing today.
Exactly. You don't have to wait until next month. You don't need a perfect study plan. You don't need to know 10,000 words. You can begin the moment this episode ends.
Let's imagine someone finishes listening to this podcast. What's the first thing they should do?
I'd keep it incredibly simple. Look around the room and spend 1 minute thinking only in English. Describe what you see. Describe what you're doing. Describe what you're planning to do next.
So maybe something like, I'm sitting at my desk. My phone is next to me. I need to answer some emails. After that, I'll make lunch.
Exactly. Those are real thoughts about your real life. That's the kind of English your brain needs.
And tomorrow they can do it again.
Right. The goal isn't to practice once. The goal is to make it part of your everyday routine.
I also think it's important to celebrate small victories.
Absolutely.
Maybe today you remembered one sentence in English without translating.
That's progress.
Tomorrow you might think about breakfast entirely in English.
More progress.
Next week you might watch a short video and understand almost everything without translating every sentence.
Even more progress. Language learning isn't one big success. It's thousands of tiny successes connected together.
I love that perspective because sometimes people only notice what they can't do.
That's very common. Someone understands 70% of a conversation but feels disappointed because they missed 30%.
Instead of celebrating the 70% they understood.
Exactly. If you focus only on what's missing, learning becomes frustrating. But if you notice how much you're improving, you'll stay motivated much longer.
Motivation really matters, doesn't it?
It does. But here's something interesting. Most people think motivation comes first.
Doesn't it?
Not always. Very often, action comes first. You practice for a few days. You notice improvement. Then motivation grows because you can actually see your progress.
So we shouldn't wait until we feel motivated.
Exactly. Start with small actions. Motivation often follows.
I think that's helpful advice for almost anything in life.
I agree. Whether you're learning English, exercising, or developing any new skill, consistency usually beats intensity.
Before we finish, I'd love to do one quick recap. If someone only remembers a few ideas from today's episode, what should they remember?
Great idea. First, stop trying to translate every single sentence.
Focus on the meaning instead of individual words.
Exactly. Second, think in simple English every day.
Even if it's only a few words.
Right. Third, connect English directly to images and experiences instead of your native language.
Like seeing an apple and thinking apple, not the translation.
Exactly. Fourth, listen to lots of natural English because your brain learns patterns by hearing them repeatedly.
Podcasts, videos, conversations, anything that's interesting.
Absolutely. And finally, don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are evidence that you're practicing.
I think that's one of my favorite lessons from today's conversation.
Mine too. Perfection isn't the goal. Communication is.
I hope everyone listening feels a little more confident now. Thinking in English might seem difficult today, but every single learner who speaks English fluently once had exactly the same challenge.
That's true. Every fluent speaker started as a beginner. The difference is that they kept going. They accepted that progress takes time, and they practice consistently.
So, if you're listening right now, here's a small challenge. For the rest of today, whenever you notice yourself thinking about something simple, try switching to English for just 1 minute.
It could be while you're making coffee, walking outside, organizing your room, or planning tomorrow. Keep it simple. Don't worry about perfect grammar and let your thoughts flow naturally.
And if you don't know a word,
Don't stop. Use an easier word. Describe it differently. Keep thinking. The important thing is to stay in English instead of immediately returning to your native language.
that's such practical advice.
Remember, fluency isn't about speaking quickly. It's about thinking comfortably. Once your thoughts become more natural in English, speaking becomes much easier too.
Well, that's all for today's episode. We really hope these ideas help you become more confident and enjoy learning English a little more every day.
Thanks so much for spending this time with us. Keep listening, keep practicing, keep thinking in English, and most importantly, be patient with yourself. Every small step you take today is building the fluent English you'll have tomorrow.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy learning.